Hello everybody and welcome back to another Minecraft video. Recently I was thinking about a mod that there is that allows you to store items as energy, and I was wondering, is there a way to do this in vanilla Minecraft? Well, not to store it as energy because there is no energy form in vanilla Minecraft, but I found a way to store it as data. So what I've done over here is I've got a chest for depositing items, and some of the items that we put into this will be stored as data. So you could use this in a map for a currency system or for some means of being able to store items and call them out later. So over here we can have a look at how much iron we have. At the moment we have 0 iron, and also we can take a look at how many diamonds we have. So we have none of those in the system, which means if we go over here and try and get some diamonds or iron, then we're not going to be given anything back in return. And also there is a button here that we are not allowed to touch. Don't know why, but anyway, if we put these items into this chest over here, you're going to see that they will get stored as data. Now, dirt isn't stored in this system, so if we put that in there as well, it will show you that that's not going to clog up the system at all. So that has no effect, and it looks like we got some bugged out lapis there. Yep, it disappeared as soon as I pressed that. So now if we come over here and press the diamonds, you can see we have 9 of those. So I put in 9, and now we have 9 in the system. And over here we have 1 emerald, and I think we put in 4 lapis, so let's check that as well. There you go, 4 lapis. So if we go over and collect our emerald, we'll press this button over here to get that back. You see we've got 1 emerald right there, and now let's press it again. You can see we only had 1 emerald and we can only get 1 in return. So this is a really great system, you know, for storing items as data. So you could put them in one place in your map, put them into a chest, and then take them out in another. You could also use this in just a regular server where you want players to have a way to have a sort of safety deposit bank, so they can put items into a chest in a secure area, and then those items will be safe because they're stored as data. Now, as an afterthought with this system as well, I've also installed a currency system. So if we press this over here, you can see that I have 97, and I've assigned a different value to each type of material that we put in. So the redstone and iron have 1, that means they're worth 1 currency. The lapis is 2, the gold is worth 5, 3, the emerald 5, and the diamonds 9. And so this was an afterthought because if you want to exchange the currency for something else, then it's going to be quite difficult to create a system where it then figures out which of the materials you've put into the system to take away. But if you wanted to do it, you can do the same thing. You can store the items as currency as well, so maybe people could dump in a load of redstone into your system and then they could take it out of diamonds somewhere else. So anyway, now I'm going to show you how all of this works. So let's start by turning the command block output on, so you can see what's going on here. And so behind this is a filter system. This is very simple. Basically we have filters underneath here, so when the diamonds pass through the hoppers above, this is going to activate the comparator, which then turns off this torch here and allows the items to pass through. And so when they go through here, they go into this dropper, and when there's an item in that dropper, the comparator turns on and it turns on this clock here. So at the moment this torch is overriding the clock, and then when that cycles round, it's also going to send a signal back to the dropper here to dispose of the item into lava. And so for every item that's in there, it will send a signal through on this side, and it will also dispose of the same item as well. And so at the end here we have some very simple scoreboard commands. Scoreboard players add a summa diamond 1, so it's going to add a value of 1 to the diamond score, and then behind that, this was the afterthought that I was talking about, it also adds currency as well. So there's a couple of ways you can get this to work for you. You can have it specific to a player, so each player could have their own deposit box like this with their own filter system, and then that means that other players could put items into those to give to a summa, i.e. me. Or what you could do is use a nearest player command as well. So you could have a secure area here where only 1 player can enter at a time, and then they would be the nearest player to these command blocks over here. You could also make it so that it searches for a player who is at this location over here. So then whoever's standing in front of the deposit box, they'll be the person to get the diamond score added to, they'll be the person to have the value added to the diamond score, or whatever one it is here on the filter system. So if you want to know the syntax for that, if you just have a look at this command block, you can see I've replaced the name of the player with @p, so that will be the nearest player. You can also do this for a random player or for every player on the map as well, using these two here. And then if we look at this one, you can see there's extra syntax after the @p, and these specify some coordinates, so 0, 64, 0. You would place that wherever your deposit box is, and then a radius of 5, it's missing a comma there, So a radius of 5 around those coordinates. If there's a player in that region, then it's going to add the diamond score to that player. So once you've deposited your items, you're going to want to be able to see how much you have stored as data, and that's this part of the system here. This is very easy to understand. All we do is use a simple command to display the objectives of the diamonds. So that means depending on how many diamonds we have when we press this, it's going to display it on the side of the screen, and then after a while the signal will travel to the back here and it will simply remove that from the display screen that is on the side. Now that is the only way to display it, because if you see here, this button that we are not supposed to press will say assumer press the button, and if we have a look at this back here, you can see that we use the @player command. So we can actually, with these commands, specify a player, but unfortunately we can't use a same message to specify another piece of data, for example the diamond value from the scoreboard, because that way we could then say @player has, @player, and then it will verify the amount of diamonds that you have and then tell you how many you have in the message. Unfortunately you can't do that, so the only way to display it is like this on the sideboard, and then it will tell you exactly how many of those you have. So I'd like to point out that this is actually possible. If you have a look at this command block here, it's going to say at the player who has a score minimum on redstone of 1 and a maximum score of 1 that they have 1 redstone, and this one over here is going to say it when they have 3. So if we press that, Assumer has 3 redstone, and there you can see Assumer, well, it doesn't even say it. So if we take 2 redstone, then we would have 1, and when we press this one we get nothing, and when we press this one it says Assumer has 1 redstone. So if you really wanted to do it like that, it would mean that you'd have to hook up a whole bunch of these command blocks, and depending on what the maximum amount of materials you had coming into your system, you'd have to make 1 command block for every single number. So this last part of the system, this is the bit where you get given items, and this is very simple to understand. This is just an AND gate, and one half of the AND gate will check to see if you have enough items in the bank. So here you can see we have a score of diamond has to be a minimum of 1, and so if you have more than 1 diamond, then it's going to output that there. So let's have a look at gold. Gold is the 3rd one in. Okay, if we remove this block here, we won't be interfering with anything, and then we can see the output for the gold. So here we are testing for the score of gold to be a minimum of 1, and then it will output a signal. And so when it's doing that, it's turning off one part of the AND gate here. So for example, we have no emeralds, so that is on, meaning whenever we press this button here, we're not going to be able to turn off this bit of redstone, which would then turn on that torch if that were to turn off, and then activate the command blocks in front of it. So we have 3 of those here. We have one that removes the value from the player of that specific type, for example diamond. So again, you can do the same thing. Instead of it being specific for a player, you can have it @player and tell it to scan for someone who's standing in front of the shop here. And so as well as that, it also gives you the item itself, and it deducts the same amount from currency as well. So diamonds has a value of 9 in currency, so it takes away those as well. So let's get ourselves that 1 piece of gold that we deposited earlier, and now if we have a look at this, you can see that it's no longer outputting anything, because we no longer have any gold stored in the system. So when I press this button again, it's not going to give us anything. So there you go, that is my concept for storing items as data. It's really simple. We just use a filter system to then activate redstone to control command blocks to store the items as data within the scoreboards, and then that means we can check the scoreboards to see how many items we have, and also we can use that same data to remove from the system and then give us items in return. So this should be very useful for you if you run a server and you want a way for your players to have a secure way of storing items, or maybe you want to implement a currency system, or you're making an adventure map. There is plenty of uses for this. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see some more of mine, there is links on the screen and in the description box as well that you can click on, and also there will be a link to download this map right here if you want to come in the world and check it out and see it for yourself. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.